Hey everyone, this is Hafizullah Masoudi and you're watching From Code with Hafiz. I welcome you to the third video of this series where we will discuss CSS backgrounds. So the CSS background properties are used to add background effects for elements. Now the one you already are familiar with is the background color property that we used in our previous video. So this property specifies a background color for an element, and to show you an example, let's create or put our styles tag in the section, and let's declare a background color for the body. So let's say body curly braces, and let's say background a color, and let's say light blue. Now if we save it, get back to the browser and refresh, now you can see we have a nice light blue background color. So we can declare background color to almost any element we want, and to show you more examples, let's get back to the Visual Studio Code and let's create some elements first. So in here let's create a h1 and let's say hello world, and let's create a div, and inside here let's say some example text, and next up let's create a paragraph, and in here let's say lorem ipsum. Now let's design or give background color to all these three elements. So let's press enter here guys, and first of all let's give some background color to h1 element. So let's say background color and let's say green, and for the div let's also say background color and let's say light blue, or we already have a light blue, so let's say dark blue, and next let's give some background color to the paragraph. So background color and let's say yellow. Now if we save this, get back to the browser and refresh, now you can see the elements are getting background color. Now next up we have the opacity property, which specifies the opacity or transparency of an element. It can take a value from 0.0 to 1.0. So the more the value is, the lower the transparency. So let's get back to the Visual Studio Code and let's give some opacity to this div. So we can say opacity and let's say 0.3. So if we save this now, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see this div is now getting some opacity. Now note that while using the opacity property to add a transparency to the background of an element, all of its child elements inherit the same transparency, so this can make the text inside a fully transparent element which will be hard to read. So in here you can see we have a text in here, but due to the opacity and the dark color we cannot even see that there is a text inside this div. So if you don't want to apply opacity to all child elements, you can use the RGBA color values, which has alpha channel, and with it you can apply the opacity only to the color property. So to show you this one, let's get back to the Visual Studio Code, and instead of defining the opacity and background color like this, let's remove the opacity first, and then let's remove the color or the named color, and let's say RGBA, and now for the blue we can set the red to 0, green to 0, and blue to 255, and for the alpha channel let's say 0.3. So if we save this now, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see it's the same color, but now we are seeing the child elements. So now the opacity is only applied to the background color, not the whole elements inside this div. Now next up what we have is the background image property, and to use this property, first of all let's copy some images to our project directory, and then we will work on this property. So what I will do is open a terminal here, and I will go to the pictures directory. So there I have some pictures. So let's say pictures, and let's let's press enter, and if I LL here, you can see I have this images folder in here. So what I will do is I will copy this folder from here, so CP, and let's say images, and because this is a directory, I will dash R in here, so to tell the terminal that this is a folder, and then I will copy it to my desktop. So for that I have to be in the root directory, so let's say desktop here, and then CSS projects, and press enter. Now let's get back to our root directory, and now I will check the CSS projects folder. So cd CSS projects, or I have to go to the desktop first, so CSS projects, and if I LL here, now you can see we have the images, and if I LL the images, now you can see we have all these 4 images. Now let's get back to our Visual Studio Code, and in here let's declare a background image for the body. So let me comment this one, and now we can use the background image property, and to declare an image we can use the URL, and now we can go to the images, and let's load the paper.gif image. So if we save this now, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see we have a nice background image. Now note that by default the image will be repeated, so it covers the entire element. So in here, so this image will repeat itself until it covers all the area available in this element. Now also note that while using a background image, use an image that does not disturb the text. So the background image can also be set for specific elements like a paragraph element. So to show you this one, let's get back to the Visual Studio Code, and let's comment this one, and let's give some background image, for example to this paragraph. So let's say background image here, and in here we can say URL, so we have to go to the images, and let's say paper.gif, and if I save this, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see it is only giving the paragraph the background image, and as I told you earlier, the image will only repeat itself until it covers the whole area of the element. So for in this case it is the only the background of the paragraph. Now next up what we have is the background repeat property. So to show you this one, let's get back to our Visual Studio Code, and for the body let's uncomment this code, and let's select another image here. So I will select the image underscore tree.png, and let's check it out and see how it looks like. So if I refresh, you can see the image is being repeated until it covers the entire area. But if we declare the background repeat property, so background repeat property, and we want this one to be no repeat. So if I save this, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see the image is only repeated once, or it is not repeated, it is only displayed once, because we have now declared the background repeat property no repeat. Now next up what we have is the background position property, which specifies the position of the background image. So to show you this one, let's get back to the Visual Studio Code, and let's declare it for this body. So let's say background position, and for now let's say right and then top. So if I save this, get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see the image is in the right top corner of the web page. So this is, guys, how you can position an image. And next up what we have is the background attachment. So the attachment property specifies whether the background image should scroll or to be fixed, which will not scroll with the rest of the page. So to show you this one, what we can do is get back to our Visual Studio Code, and first of all let's create some content here. So what I will do is duplicate this paragraph here a couple of times, so we get some content here, and let's get back to the browser, refresh, now you can see we have this content. Now let's make some more. for a little bit of more scroll. So if I refresh, yeah, now we have plenty of scrolling here. Now let's get back to the Visual Studio Code and let's go to our body styling, and in here you can see the position is right top. So now let's say background attachment, and for this one we want this to be fixed. So if I save this, get back to the browser, and if I refresh, now you can see that the image is still in its place, so it's not scrolling with the text or the page. And if we remove this property, or instead of removing it, if I declare it a scroll, it will be its default value, which will scroll now with the text or the page. As you can see, if I scroll down now, the image is going up. So this was another useful property. Now next up, what we have is the background shorthand property, which makes it possible to specify all the background properties in one single property. So instead of writing all the code like this, so in here you can see background image, background repeat, background position, background attachment, we can just use the shorthand property of background, and it will be all covered in that one property. So to show you this one, let me comment all of this, and at the bottom let's say background, and now first of all let's declare a default color value. So let's say FFF, and now let's declare an image for it. So let's say images, and let's say image tree, and after the image let's say we want this one to be no repeat, and then we want this one to be right and the top position. Now if we get back to the browser, and if I refresh, you can see we still have our image in here. While using the shorthand property, guys, the order of the property value is important. So it must be in the order that I defined in here. So to declare it more, let me write some comments here. So the order should be like this. So first of all, you must declare a default color value, and then you must declare the background image, and after the image you can declare the background repeat property, and after the repeat you can declare the attachment property, and after the attachment you can declare the position. So you must always remember to use the order like this, or else it will not work. Well, it does not matter if one of the property values is missing, as long as the order or the other ones are in this order. So this being done, it was all about CSS background, though it was basics of it. So we will discuss some advanced stuff about CSS backgrounds later in this course. But for now this is enough. So now you know how CSS backgrounds work and what properties CSS has for backgrounds. I hope this was informative and you found this video useful. If so, don't forget to give the thumbs up and a nice comment also. And if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe too if you want more videos like this. So thanks for watching. See ya in the next video.